I'm delighted to be joined by three top quality guests. Heather Carter, Operations Director at Blenheim Palace. Hello, Heather.
Hello, Stephen.
Christina Iron, Sales Manager at Courtyard by Marriott, Oxford City Centre.
Afternoon.
Hi, Christina. And Mari O'Connor, Head of Conference Oxford. Hi, Mari.
Hello.
So you'll be hearing from all of them during the course of this half hour. Please do feel free to pop questions in the chat, and Lorna will let us know if there's anything burning that needs to stop us in our tracks. Otherwise, we'll hopefully get to those at the end. So I'd just like to tell you what we're going to talk about in this half hour. We're going to give a quick definition of customer experience, just so we're on the same wavelength as to what we're talking about. We're going to think about the challenge of 2021. You know, 2020 has just been survival, hasn't it? But we've learned some lessons. We've maybe emerged kind of scarred and battle hardened, but 2021 is probably going to be the more challenging, because arguably we'll have, I guess, the expectation that we're moving towards recovery, maybe with less government support, and possibly with fewer customers, with less money, and almost certainly with fewer in our team or smaller resources as well. So we're going to dip into how these three world-class organizations think about customer experience, the lessons they learned in 2020, and what they'll be doing differently. And then, as I've said, we'll have a Q&A at the end. So what is customer experience? I love this quote from a man that I met recently, Lou Carboni, who actually co-coined the expression customer experience, which I think is very cool. And he said this: you cannot not have an experience, which is the most brilliant idea around customer experience I've ever come across. Your customers, your visitors, your guests are having an experience of your brand, your business, your organization, whether you like it or not, and in fact, whether you know it or not. So whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, whether it says we're a business that's moving forward and we're still relevant, or whether it says we're just thrashing around, we've got no idea, it's up to you. And of course, people experience through their five senses. And we're very focused, many of us at the moment, on two of them, aren't we? Sight and sound, because we're spending so much time communicating like this. But don't forget, you know, when you come out of lockdown or when you move forward in 2021, the other senses. Smell, I'm really passionate about this. It's such a trigger of emotion and memories. Hearing and sound and music can set a tone and even encourage people to spend more money. And touch, you know, this is the thing we haven't been able to do in 2020, but when people touch, they buy. And so, you know, this has got to be high up the agenda for 2021. And this is a model that I use, it's very simple, but it's based on a model that Disney used to deliver, you know, 55,000 employees in Walt Disney World, delivering apparently spontaneous, on-brand, magical moments. And these are the five things that need to be aligned if you're going to consistently deliver a world-class customer experience. Your story, which is your brand, your value proposition, what you actually want to represent in the marketplace, your team, and this, you know, probably definition of team has widened in this year, because we're now thinking much more about the people that we work with, the people who support us, our supply chain, even our community, as well as our employees and our volunteers and our suppliers. Ambience is how the experience is encountered by the visitor through all of the senses. Is it aligned? Is it communicating the story? And of course, the recipients are the customers, and we need to know more about them and know them better and get closer to them in 2021 than ever before. Remember, there will be fewer of them, they'll have less money, and you need to maximize every engagement with them. And systems, normally the sort of forgotten poor relation of this model, but not in 2020. Obviously, everyone's focused on systems for health and safety and capacity management. and that isn't normally the case. So the systems that you use to recruit and manage and motivate your team, the systems that you use to design and deliver the ambience, the systems that you use to engage with your customers, your recipients, are incredibly important in sending out the signal whether we're consistent, whether we're authentic. So this model can help us to really plan a customer experience. And why does this matter? Well, the visitor economy in Oxfordshire alone was worth nearly 2.3 billion in 2019, representing 11% of all employment. That's actually slightly higher than the national average. And the losses to Oxfordshire's economy estimated at between 113 and 138 million per month in the early months of the pandemic. And the UK as a whole is losing nearly £500 million a week due to the reduction in inbound tourism in 2020. That's according to UK Inbound. So this is a vital part of the economy, as we all know. So let's turn to one of the kind of beacons of the Oxfordshire visitor economy, Blenheim Palace. Heather, your operations director at Blenheim, how important is customer experience in the way your organisation thinks, plans and acts?
Thanks, Stephen. That was a really interesting introduction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, at Blenheim, the visitor attraction business is our customers are our visitors, and we want to give them the best experience ever. So when they visit, they have a great experience and go away with wonderful memories, and they want to come back. They tell their friends who also want to come. So we're increasing the number by giving them such a really good reason to come back. Our customer experience is so important that we have no visitors, we have no business. So it's key.
Today, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because I always say, well, visitor attractions know that because you are a visitor attraction. If you don't attract visitors, you have no business. But it's surprising how many other businesses don't necessarily think like that. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. So today, there's lots of competition for people's time and money. So we have to be special and we have to be different. And we really have to offer something for people to want to come to us and not to go to other places. At the moment, we're competing with time for people being at home and can they come out and where they're going to choose to go safe.
Yeah.
And there are various things that people will go to do to feel safe, but why would they come to a paid for attraction? Why pay to come and feel safe? So it's really important that we get our experience for the here and now right, and then looking ahead right for what's going to happen in the future. So
do you think that focus on customer experience, I know you call them guests at Blenheim, by the way, don't you?
We do.
Is more important even than in 2020 and before, in 2021?
Well, it is now, because people used to come out and they could freely roam around the site and choose to do things as they wanted to. Now we have to really corral them around the site. They can only have a certain number of people in a certain place at any one time. Yeah. A lot of the attraction is closed. So what we need to do is maximise what we've got, make people feel safe and allow them to enjoy and actually try and enhance their visit by, putting on activities, extra tours, extra places to walk and see, extra things to see and do, extra outdoor activities, a lot less indoors. So Christmas this year for us is very small indoors. We've got a few beautifully decorated trees and we still have the Cecily Brown exhibition. Yes. But it's very pared back on what we would normally do. So we're constantly looking for reasons to talk to our visitors, to encourage them to come.
And thinking about 2021, you mentioned obviously a lot of the focus has been on outdoors this year, and you've benefited because you've got a lot of outdoors, so you can continue to attract visitors safely. Excuse me, but in 2021, I mean, obviously we live in England and the weather is not always our friend. Are you thinking about how you can enhance the experience indoors as well?
Well, you're absolutely right, though, actually, Stephen. Even in bad weather, we've been fairly busy, so people are just wanting to get out and about at the moment. So we are going to continue our outdoor program through next year, because who knows when this is going to end? You know,
Yes.
we're all crossing our fingers and hoping it's going to end in 3 months, but it might be 6 months. It could be longer. So we're continuing our outdoor program, but we are looking at our indoor opportunities, and we've done a big strategic review in the last few months. In fact, we started this before lockdown because we realized we hadn't invested in our visitor experience for many years. And we were falling behind the curve slightly. Our customers were not quite happy with what they were getting. And so we'd started on that process. Now COVID has really accelerated that progress. So not only have we got to plan for the future, for the next 10 years to capture our share of that market, but we've got to plan for COVID recovery. And what do people want next year and what can they do? So we're looking at how we can spread out our indoor activities. So for instance, 22% of our visitors visit for Winston Churchill. At the moment, Winston Churchill exhibition is closed because it's in a small space. But actually, we weren't really satisfying those people in the first place because it was such a small, crammed-in exhibition. So we've identified a new space and we're investing some money. We've got some Cultural Recovery Fund grant money to help us do this, and we've added to that pot. And we're creating a lovely Winston Churchill exhibition in a new space, which is accessible. It spreads out our offer, and we will, even if we're in a COVID situation, be able to attract more visitors to an indoor activity. Same with the stables. We're taking out the old exhibition in the stables and we're turning them back into stables with horses and bringing that area of the palace to life, things that people are now interested in. So really waking it up and attracting new audiences, you know, those young people who want to feel and do and be part of something. Our offer at the moment is not really geared to that. So we're quickly changing our direction.
That's fascinating. And you know, we see that sort of lack of investment in the customer experience in the high street, don't we? And you know, I was at an actual live event with Mary Portas, Queen of Shops, in February, and she was saying, you know, all the stores that are closing are the boring ones, the ones that, you know, haven't invested in their customer experience, and we won't miss them. And I think, you know, we might miss some of the ones that are teetering on the brink right now, but they just have not invested in their customer experience and they don't know their customers. I mean, I get a daily email from Debenhams and, you know, I've been offered bras, maternity bras, mastectomy bras even, and they just, you know, it's all transmit. There's no sense that they actually know anything about me at all. And it's quite alienating.
You're absolutely right. So researching your customers and knowing your market. So you're talking to them before they even got to site and you're offering them what they want. It's really key.
Yeah. Thank you, Heather. Let's turn to Christina. And what's interesting now is that my screen won't advance. But anyway, Christina, while I faff around with the technology.
Hi, Stephen.
So the Courtyard by Marriott Oxford City Centre opened in July 2019, I believe.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
So you had, I guess, a sort of the opening few months that you expected, and then a 2020 that you didn't expect.
We did. We certainly didn't foresee this happening at all, but has actually been a really great opportunity for us as well. I think from our perspective, our customers, our guests have always been at the forefront and instrumental in the success of our business. And without them, as we've already gone through, if we don't have customers, then we wouldn't have a business.
Right.
So they are super important and always have been. With regards to how things have changed for us, we've had to look at things, and actually it's not necessarily that it's had a dramatic change in how we operate or how we think, but more of an enhancement on what we will and building on what we already have. Having the Marriott brand behind the hotel has been fantastic. It's given us the opportunity that we've been able to have industry-leading cleanliness programs combined with EcoLab that we've been able to easily implement, providing our guests with the confidence and the reassurance to travel. I think the difference for us from when we first opened to now, a lot of people that a lot of our customers are looking for that reassurance before they even make their bookings with us. Our job in the hotel team, speaking to my colleagues and for me that have been taking telephone calls with our guests, is that they're looking for the COVID aspect, the safety, which almost that box is ticked with regards to having the international brand behind us, that the expectations would be that we are at the forefront of leading the cleanliness programme, but also convincing guests and giving them the reassurance that Oxford is safe to travel, that there are plenty of things, lovely, wonderful things for you to come and experience whilst you come and stay with us, whether that be attractions like Blenheim Palace, or the colleges, or whether it be a restaurant that they're looking to dine at. All of that reassurance is needed before they make the bookings. And it's really nice. COVID has given us the opportunity to increase our touch points with our customers and engaging with them before the booking's actually even been made. We've had the opportunity to create real connections with those guests that walk through our door before they've even arrived. And it feels like they've arrived at home when they get here, because we've had so much correspondence, whether that's through sending COVID videos of the guest experience and the guest journey at our specific hotel, whether it is the contact that we've helped them create with the restaurant that they're going to go and dine at, or to get the bus times for and the programmes of how they're going to go and visit family and friends. So it's enabled us to really connect a lot better with our guests. And a lot of people have been visiting us for very, very diverse reasons. Some of them have been happy reasons, some of them have not been so happy circumstances. So it's really for our staff to engage with each individual guest and treat them as individuals and see how we can tailor make their experience to make them feel safe, but also to make them feel welcome as well, which is so, so important, especially at this challenging time for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I mean, I think we've spoken about the fact that I'm fascinated by hotels as a place where customer experiences happen, because it's such a sort of intimate, extended experience, isn't it, compared to many other types of business. Yeah, and absolutely. That check-in experience, you know, it's for many hotels, it kind of leaves a lot to be desired, doesn't it, as you say, and that idea that actually you come to your hotel and it's like you're arriving home because they already know you, and presumably that's something that's come out of 2020 that you'll retain going forward.
Absolutely. And I think the staff as well, it's been so challenging, as it has for many organisations where you've had staff on furlough, you've got staff that have adapted their normal day-to-day role into areas where the business needs you in that particular moment. So a lot of our guests are experiencing the same point of contact with staff as well. They might have spoken to a reservationist, which then checks them in, which then delivers their breakfast in the morning. And I think the feeling that creates for our staff, although it's operating in very challenging times, that feeling that you get personally from the reaction from your customers and your guests is the thing that's really helped maintain morale, because we do feel very connected with our customers, and that feeling that you get is very, very rewarding.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, thank you so much for that, Christina. I'm sorry we didn't manage to get your slide up.
That's okay.
But we'll turn to Mari now. So Mari, you're head of Conference Oxford, 68 venues in the city, I believe. Just give us a quick flavour of what type of venues they are.
Oh, well, hi Stephen, hi everyone. Yes, I'm here today representing Conference Oxford. We have 68 venues, all university and college venues. So we have 38 colleges, lots of museums, the Ashmolean, the Natural History, we have the Bodleian Library, iconic buildings like the Sheldonian. So vast array of university and college venues. And I would have said that customer care has always been paramount to us. And I mean, it's all about the customer journey. And I think you've reflected on that, Stephen, in the article, and you've talked about that. And I think the customer journey starts right from that first phone call, that first email. You know, people contact us to look for a venue for a whole myriad of events, you know, from a wedding to a conference to a meeting to a dinner. It can be anything. And I think from the moment you engage with the customer, you have to ensure that they feel that they're being looked after. Really, that's all people want.
So
they
more
want
than the other two, you're very much B2B. We're talking here. So this is people hiring the venues.
Yes.
For all sorts of purposes.
For all sorts of events, yes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the other two, both the hotel, I'm sure, and Blenheim operate hospitality and venue hire as well. But
and actually,
because
both
this is
very
your main
important
focus, you've been particularly challenged, haven't you? Because most of your venues have been shut. Is that right?
Well, certainly when we all went into lockdown in February and March, that was it. Everybody was in lockdown. We all had to very quickly consider how we were going to manage, what we were going to do. And of course, at that time, our students were the priority. They are our first customer, if you like. We had to look after them, and the colleges, you know, had a big job to do, if you like, in looking after them, making them feel safe, making them feel secure, and all that encompassed. And of course, that has a rollout effect in that after that, any customer, any client, any guest, any visitor that comes into one of our venues can be assured that it's a safe environment, because we've ensured that it is safe for our staff, for our students. And of course, if you look at some of our museums, they opened quite soon after, you know, they spent a long time getting ready and making sure that all the regulations were in place to make visitors feel cared for.
Yeah. And so have they, for example, the Ashmolean, have they been able to develop any hospitality business despite all the problems?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, I think that has been the thing that has most impressed our customers, if you like. The way our venues have very quickly adapted how they offer their service, how they offer their venue, and some have actually looked at you know, investing in equipment, investing in staff training to ensure that we can provide virtual show rounds. Very important when people can't come out and see the venues firsthand, especially for the visitor attraction side of it, if you like, for the exhibitions and what have you. And then they've also adapted in investing in equipment that's allowed them to look at running hybrid events and virtual events, which of course the whole world seems to want to run virtual and hybrid events at the moment. I mean,
I think there's a challenge with that because of the fact that people are, you know, getting a bit weary of staring at screens and don't really want to do that in their free time.
And, you know, we've all had to adapt from working from home, daily Zoom meetings, daily Teams meetings. It's amazing how we've all adapted so quickly.
Yes.
And, you know, and I'm sure Heather and Christina will agree with me. We've all talked to each other far more, I think, than we've ever done before.
You know, I think that's a fantastic thing, both within a kind of tourism community, but also within communities, but also within large attractions. Heather might agree with this, and I've seen this with museums as well, where, you know, departments that probably never spoke to one another from one month to the next, you know, having daily meetings because they need to coordinate the visitor experience safely and, you know, with capacity management and all the rest of it. And in doing so, you create a much more consistent approach, don't you, which has got to be a good thing. I'm going to thank you very much, Mari. I'm going to try one more time to share my screen, and if I can't, so be it. But I just would like to show you a couple of couple of final thoughts, and also sum up what we've been talking about. Come on. It's not going to let. Okay, so I think we've thought very much today about the concept of experience, and the fact that actually, you know, if you don't have an experience that delivers what your customer is looking for, you don't have a business. And as a result of that, all of you have had to really think hard about your customers and your guests and your visitors' experiences. You've also had to stand back and make some big decisions. You know, this is really thinking about the customer experience strategically. What are you going to retain that you've had to adopt in 2020? What do you want to do even more of in 2021 and beyond? And how can you sort of bag those gains in terms of improved customer knowledge and relationships, and keep that going in 2021? You've obviously all learnt to be flexible in an ever-changing world, and really being in tune with your customers so that you can anticipate their needs. Because, you know, as we've talked about the value of inbound tourism, people need to feel safe and secure, yeah, all the points on the customer journey, but certainly to know when they come to you that you're going to look after them, it's going to be safe, and they're going to get what they wanted. And finally, that need to be ready to invest in and embrace new technology, because, you know, we've had maybe 5 years of progress in terms of using technology in a few months. So it's here to stay. It's going to be good, but we are going to have to learn more about how to use it. We're going to have to invest in better quality facilities, equipment, and really ensure that we again bank those gains. So thank you. I'm sorry about the screen sharing. I'm going to stop that now. Do we have any questions or comments, Lorna?
No questions just yet, but if in the last couple of minutes, if anyone has any questions for Stephen and his guests, please do feel free to jump in. As Mari was talking about what Ashmole have been doing, I noticed we've got Wendy here in the room, so I'm sure she agreed with everything that you've outlined there. I mean, we've been to Ashmole a couple of times. We held quite a large virtual event there recently, yes, and they're doing fantastically in terms of safety, keeping everyone safe and well looked after. It's just been brilliant. Oh, hi Wendy, there she is.
Hi Wendy.
I don't know if you want to.
And Stephen, you both get thumbs up, and Mari, you all get thumbs up for mentioning us. Thank you so much. I'm sure it was nothing to do with the fact that I was a participant.
I was going to say Wendy and Christina and I don't know if anyone else on this call are featuring in this incredible video promoting Safe Open Oxford, which if you haven't seen it yet, you'll find it on LinkedIn or the B4 website. Yeah. Really saying, you know, and I've been in the city centre a couple of times in the past few days. It does feel safe. Obviously, like every, you know, the attraction and every business we're talking about, if it's open, potentially you can have a better quality experience because there aren't so many other people. Certainly in Oxford City Centre, that's true. And I guess at Blenheim as well, you know, rubbing shoulders with you. But you know, that's not going to be the case forever. So it's really about understanding what we can do to, you know, not just go back to how we were before, but do things better. Because I think all of us, we're all customers, aren't we? And we all know that a lot of the customer service and experience that we encounter is quite mediocre, isn't it? And we kind of accept it because what do you do about it? But actually, I think, you know, if customer experience gets better, I mean, we even appreciate people on the checkout in the supermarket now, don't we? Because we see them as key workers who kept us fed during, you know, lockdown. So maybe some more kindness, some more appreciation for how hard it is to deliver great customer experiences, as well as innovation and being flexible and being prepared to move forward is the way to go.
Definitely.
On that note, I'm going to stop talking.
That's okay. I think Mari, you had something to interject, and I think Wendy might have a question.
Sorry, Lorna. I was just going to say that throughout this, when I was putting our annual review together, and I had to look at the stats, look at what we had, achieved over the last financial year, and look at what a difference the last 6-7 months have made. And I actually think there's so many positives that have come out of this last 6-7 months. Yes. I think we've all had to look to ourselves. I think we've had to look at our relationships with everybody else. I know from Conference Oxford's point of view, all of our venues have come together. We've collaborated, we've shared knowledge, we've shared information, we've helped each other. When Wendy hosted the hybrid event at the Ashmolean, we followed up with that, and we got a lot of our members on a Zoom or a Teams meeting, and they were able to roll out their experience of hosting one of these things, which was hugely important to people. And now another one of our venues is helping us with further training for all of our venue managers, just to help them move forward. So I think collaboration and communication has been amazing.
Yeah, and I think we've seen, many of us feel that working in tourism and hospitality is not, sufficiently appreciated as the art, the science, the skill that it is. But in just the way we've seen businesses adapt their experiences and really engage with their customers and guests at very difficult times, has been such a demonstration of that skill. Stephen Cook says, I have a question, shall I ask it?
Rather than typing it, shall I just ask away?
Hello, Stephen.
Hello. I'm not in the hospitality sector at all, so but customer experience is something that is very important to the work that I do as a strategist with businesses and governments and civil society movements.
Yeah,
so that all becomes important. I never use the word customer, but my comment about the hospitality sector and everything that you have shared today is, I think, really important. So just for a moment, Christina talked about welcoming, and that was a key word that I took out from what you said. Marie, you talked about care. That's really important. But Heather, you said you want your guests to be part of something. And I think that is a massively important area. And I've just come off a huge conference in the B2B sector dealing with tech enterprise businesses and so on. How do you encourage people not to feel like customers who are on the receiving end of an experience, but to feel like they are kind of co-creating their own experience with you? And that applies in, again, I did a speech at a massive symposium the other day, which was to the really hard end of sales organizations in enterprise businesses. And they're really struggling with this area. I actually feel that you guys, if you ever had the time to reach out, have got a lot that you could teach other types of business in other sectors and industries about how to bring that shared experience together, because it is a shared experience, because you have the advantage of a physical environment in the main that others don't.
People are looking for their own individual experiences nowadays. They don't want to go and just see stuff or even meet nice staff. Meet nice staff is lovely, but actually what they want is to create that special memory that belongs to just them and take it home. And that's the niche. That's what we need to achieve, I think. And that was happening before COVID. It's just accelerated it. People now really do appreciate their time out, and time's special. So we've got to make that visit, that whatever they choose to do, whether it's stay in a hotel, go to a conference, they're looking for that something a little bit special that they will remember and can share and talk about.
And that's hugely important. So in the work that I do around purpose, which is a hugely complicated and very difficult subject, and I won't even go there, but the really interesting thing is the distinction between innate purpose, that as a human being we feel, we just have a sense of purpose as a human being, versus the very sort of deliberate, trite and manufactured purpose tends to be created by organisations. And there's this huge gap between how we feel in terms of empathy towards others as a result of our own purpose versus what's sort of forced upon us, particularly in those big corporations, that is that manufactured end of purpose. So I think that creation of your own experience is really important, because that's the bit that touches you in terms of personal experience rather than manufactured.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
That's great. And I know we could do a whole nother webinar on purpose in business and how important that is. I know, Wendy, you've been patiently raising your hand, so if you wanted to chime in, please go ahead.
Actually, it echoes a lot of what Stephen said and all the presenters have said. I think essentially we all have got a commonality this year, have been on the receiving end of service in a COVID world. And so we are all really well placed to know what is working for us personally and what we feel, which is exactly as Stephen was saying, is how we have felt when we have gone to an attraction, to a restaurant, to accommodation provider. How have we felt by that, that experience, that holistic experience, and what can we learn from that? Because actually then as providers, we have got that personal involvement in it, and across the piece we've all got it. We've all been on the receiving end of service, and we can learn an awful lot from that. And I think that's also where we were talking about the key collaborations that we've all been holding, additional talks with one another. We've had shared best practices, because collaboratively we've all learned so much from ourselves as guests of one another's experiences.
And I do think when we have rebuilt our businesses, we need to continue to do that collaboration piece. And I think, as Steve has said, we need to address some of the issues beyond whether people come to a visitor attraction or not, the issues of how we make a better world, because surely that's what ultimately visitor attractions are doing for a brief 2 or 3 or 4 hours for people, and then they go back to their, what you might call, their drab little lives. Well, why should our lives be drab? We need sustainable lives. We need lives where we care for one another, and we need to be safe. And let's find a sustainable model for that. And I think that does come through collaboration.
Just on that point, Stephen, I've just launched a global movement for change, which is called Age of Human, and it's to change business. Won't bore you with the details.
Oh, it sounds very cool.
Three of us have co-founded it. I'm the only one of us, the three of us, that's in the UK. None of us have ever met, and none of us have ever heard of each other until 4 weeks ago.
Brilliant.
And launched a global movement for change. And
that's just the start of the possibilities that we now have, isn't it?
That co-creation of stuff with people who you wouldn't ordinarily get to interact with, I think, is hugely important.
Yeah. Well, I shall find out more about that from you, Steve. And I think probably it's time to call it.
I appreciate we've gone a little bit over time, but all very, very good conversation. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you so much to our guests, Heather, Christina and Mari. And we'll see you soon. And the article is on the B4 website as well, so check it out. And don't forget to see that amazing video about the city centre as well.